Hello, this is Johnny from securitytutorials.co.uk, and this is my introduction video. So what is my website? My website is securitytutorials.co.uk, and my goal is to provide free system security information in order to improve security for all. I will provide system security information in the eyes of an attacker in order for you to understand how to protect yourself against malicious hackers. So who am I? My name is Johnny. I am 18 years old. I want to major in network and security. My dream job is to become a penetration tester, and I am from England, but I have studied in a lot of American schools. So what is my experience? I have studied computers for about 5 years, and the past 2 years really in depth. I have read the basics of penetration, the basics of hacking and penetration testing, and this is definitely my favorite because it has a lot of good information in there and it's not dry at all. Metasploit, the Penetration Tester's Guide, Certified Ethical Hacker Handbook, and Hacking Exposed. So what are my experience in operating systems? And these are in order of my experience. And it is Linux. I have studied that for the past year or so, but it's been really in depth and fundamental understanding. Windows, it's because I grew up with Windows and I have a really deep understanding of it. Macintosh OS X, I have studied that in maybe 6 months, and that was just on the user-based level, whether it was Word, browsing the internet, all the standard user things. So what are hackers? Hackers are people who use hardware or software in a way the author did not intend. And this is basically manipulating software, hardware to your advantage. So what are the different types of hackers? There are black hat, gray hat, and white hat. So black hat is what we normally associate a hacker, and these are basically people who hack for malicious and bad purposes. These are people who try to gain financial data, sensitive information. These are the bad guys basically. White hat, the marketing term for white hat is called an ethical hacker, and these are people who work for companies and they try to attack in the eyes of the attacker in order for them to improve the security. Gray hat, these are sort of people in the middle. These are people who think what they're doing is morally right, but the law sort of conflict with morality. And basically, these are people, when they get mad, they hack for malicious purposes, but generally they want to do good. So what are the motives of a hacker? Basically, if you go down to the fundamental understanding, is to acquire data. And knowledge is power, basically, whether it's credit card information, usernames, passwords, any information that is deemed secret in a way. To impersonate others. Now this is going through people's Facebook, going into their emails, spoofing emails. You sort of get the point. Another one is for destruction. Now this is all over the news with the denial of service attacks, and these are just basically who want to destroy systems, and yeah. And the last one is for fun. It's a very interesting topic and it's very engaging. So what are the fundamental steps of a penetration tester? Now this is very important for you to understand because hacking isn't just gaining access to systems instantly. There's a lot of steps that are in play. So the first step is information gathering or reconnaissance. This is basically going on Google and determining the website, the attack surfaces, basically just gathering all the information about your target. The next one is vulnerability assessment, and what this is just basically finding holes in systems and finding ways to get in. The next one is exploitation, and this is what people normally associate with hacking, which is gaining access to systems. The next one is privilege escalation, because usually when you hack in, you're on the user level and you don't have administration or system rights. And yeah, it's normally system rights for Windows and root access for Linux. The next one is maintaining access, and this is basically putting a backdoor so that you can gain access to it later. Privilege escalation and maintaining access is usually referred to as post-exploitation. So what are the hierarchy of hackers? Now this has basically been determined by the hacking community, but is not the de facto yet. Now the first level is script kiddies. These are people who don't have a fundamental understanding of computers. These are people who just use other tools that were written by other people and don't really understand what they do entirely. The next one is intermediate. Now this is where I think I put in, because I write my own scripts, but for the most of it I use other people's scripts, but I have a good understanding of what they do and how they work, and this is where most hackers would generally fall into place. Now the elite. Now this is usually thrown around a lot on forums, but really it's people who have an extreme understanding of computers. They understand networking, they understand hardware, they understand software. These are people who really know what they're doing, and basically they cannot be stopped. And anyone who calls himself an elite hacker is not one, because an elite hacker is not known as an elite hacker because he's very incognito. So the legality of it. Of course, this is important because hacking is illegal basically without consent. So all types of hacking for malicious purposes without consent is illegal. And you've got to understand that there's information privacy laws. Say if your friend says, hey, can you hack my server for me? And it's for a website, and you get in there, you go into the SQL databases, and you find out all this other user information, and all this information is not the property of the person who owns the server. It's the property of the person who inputted that information. And this is very important to understand, because the information may not be the person who's giving you consent, and that would be against the law. The reason why I'm providing this information is for information purposes only, in order to improve your knowledge of security. This is for people who want to pursue the network and security industry. So what to expect in the website. I will be using Backtrack Linux mostly. I will do tutorials on the de facto tools of the industry and tell you how they work and what they do. And I will analyze systems, networks, and hardware for you so that you can understand. Alright, this concludes my introduction, and I hope this was good for you.